we are back with another Circle Food Tour powered by PNC Bank. This is David with the UCI team. You're probably not going to see me on camera today. I am a little bit out of frame, so Chef and I can keep our social distancing, but we are here with Chef Doug Katz. Of course, he's affiliated as the chef partner at Provenance at CMA. Provenance is open for carry-out and curbside. So be sure to check that out, and Chef will, of course, talk about his other restaurants as we go through this demonstration today. But Doug, tell us what you're cooking.
Sure. Well, even before I tell you that, I'll say we are in the Chimmy kitchen right now, which is a kitchen I have on Lee Road, and we do South American cooking. So the reason we're here is because we're making a South American dish. And know that everything that we make here is done sort of with our spin on it. So we don't pretend to be making authentic, Peruvian chicken, but we make our rendition of that.
Yep.
So today we are making a grilled Peruvian chicken. We're actually going to saute it. I think at home it'll be easier for people to saute than grill, but definitely it's meant to be grilled as well. So we will serve that with an ají sauce, which is a green chili aioli sauce, sort of,
nice.
which is great. And we're serving it with a cucumber and green onion salad,
and
a basmati rice that we make that has a sofrito in it. And sofrito adds all the flavor to your rice. So we're going to actually start with that.
Okay.
And
is this something on the menu here?
It is.
Okay.
Yes, the Peruvian chicken is a dish that you can order at Chimmy, and we do takeout and delivery. This is called a ghost restaurant, and so we really don't have any seating, but we do takeout and delivery.
Yeah. Nice. So for those viewers at home, if you're just watching for the entertainment aspect, be sure to place your to-go order, and you don't have to do any of the work.
That's right, and all virtual, so that's great. So to make the sofrito, which gives it all the flavor, sofrito is really like a cooked-down vegetable mixture that you add that just adds amazing flavor to your different dishes, your stews, your beans, your meats, things like that. So we start with celery and yellow onion and garlic, green pepper. We have a little bit of tomato, canned tomato, a little bit of paprika, which is a chili, cumin, some oregano. So this is guajillo chili here. And so we're going to take all of these ingredients over to our burners here.
Okay.
And I love using a gas burner. If you have that, that's the best thing to use. And we use a little bit of sunflower oil. You want to heat up your pot first. So we'll let that just heat up for a second. And when I'm cutting, like say the celery, or I'm cutting the peppers, you want to remove that pith so that you don't have that, sort of whitish part. And in the celery, you want to, sometimes the ribs are really cellulose, have a lot of cellulose. You just want to peel those a little bit. It just gives you a more tender sofrito.
Sure.
So now that we've heated up our pan, I'm going to add about 1.5 ounces, 2 ounces of oil. And your oil is ready when you start to see it sort of shimmer a little bit, just like this. It gets nice and liquid, and it sort of moves around the pan on its own. You can sort of see it sort of shimmering. And from there, see, I'm going to add a tad bit more. Great, so you can see that, and I will add my onion. And I will let that cook for a second. I think it's important to add your ingredients one at a time because they're all different ingredients and they cook at different speeds. And you can see that you have enough oil around each piece of onion. That's really important because when you add your spices, you want to have enough oil in your pan to bloom those spices. We're going to add a little bit of salt. And the salt pulls moisture from the onion. So you really want to add that salt early because you want to pull that moisture out. You're looking to try and cook these vegetables down and cook out the water. So the salt allows you to pull that water out and cook that down. Next, we'll add our garlic. I don't add my garlic with the onion because I worry it'll burn. And I'll just give that another stir. If you ever think you don't have enough oil, it's okay to add a little bit more, but you just always want to see that bubble in your pan. You'll also smell the onion and smell the garlic. It'll smell like it's cooking. It's nice and sweet when it's done. So if your heat's too high, you can turn it down a little bit. And we just want to keep that moving around. I'm going to add a little bit more salt. Seasoning as you go is really important. Next, I'm going to add my celery and my green pepper. If you like a spicy rice, you could certainly do stronger chili, like a jalapeno or something like that. We will give you this spice. We will give you this sofrito in your kit when you pick up the kit to make this dish at home, and you should have that. Going to add a tad bit more oil, a little bit more salt. I'm going to cook this down. Probably I'll cook this down for another 5 minutes or so, and then we'll go to the next step, which is adding our spices to this mixture.
Nice, nice.
Now, one thing I could do is start the next thing, or I could just wait. Okay, because you can sort of splice it together. Okay. Actually, I'll just wait and I'll speed this process up and I'll... So again, you just want to keep stirring. Just keep those vegetables moving around the pan. But you're looking to soften and pull that moisture out. And you can see we still see that bubbling. And part of the fun of making this sofrito is your kitchen just smells so amazing with all the different
definitely
flavors.
So as you're cooking that, are you looking for any changes in the vegetables to know that it's ready?
Yes, so I call it translucent. So if you look at the onion, they're opaque when you put them in the pan. When they're cooked all the way, they will be translucent. You'll be able to see through. They'll look nice and sort of see-through, I guess. And the celery will also take on that nice moist look. Everything will be very soft, and the mixture will start to break down and sort of become one.
Nice. Nice. It does smell. It smells delicious.
Smell great. Good.
That celery, of course, always reminds me of Thanksgiving.
Oh yes.
The stuffing getting ready.
So interestingly, like you said, this would be a sofrito to make your stuffing is perfect. It's just a mixture of, these vegetables, and the peppers, onions, and celery are certainly.
Sure.
So we call, we just say we're sauteing vegetables, but in South American countries, or, in a lot of different countries, sofrito is that base of vegetable that you add. And let's see, I'm going to give it another minute. Cook that down. And next I'm going to add a little bit more of my salt. Going to add my oregano, my cumin, paprika, and my guajillo chili. And you can smell that. It's very distinct.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's nice to use these different chilies in the dish. Just adds amazing depth of flavor to your rice. And you can see how that really turns the color of your vegetables. And you want to keep this moving, but you can see that there's still oil there, and that's blooming those flavors. Those spices are absorbing into those vegetables. We want to cook this as far as we can. The pan's going to get dry, but you want to keep moving it. And then we want to add moisture back to our pan. And so that moisture comes from the tomato. And we will add that tomato And then we'll turn our heat down. And we will cook this sofrito for about 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
And we'll just let that slowly cook. And what you're left with is this really great mixture. And this is our vegetable mixture. And this is what we'll use to finish our rice.
Okay. Great. Great.
So we'll let that
Now
cook
you added
there.
the garlic first, and then you added the remaining spices, you know, towards the end.
Yes.
What's the logic there?
Because garlic is, it has the moisture in it. And it's really one of your vegetables. You're trying to cook that moisture out. You're trying to sweeten up that garlic. It's very pungent.
Sure.
And if you want to cook out your onion, then cook out your garlic. The spices are dry, and you want to add that to your oil. Once those vegetables have dried out a little bit, you want to use the oil that's in the pan to bloom your spice flavor onto those vegetables. And then you add moisture back.
Yes.
So garlic is considered one of the vegetables, even though it's a great flavoring agent or spice.
Nice.
Yeah. So while that's cooking, we're going to start our rice. And I'll just move this over and let that continue to cook. And we'll do our rice right here. And the rice is really simple. It's just basmati rice, which we use here. A lot of times people rinse the rice. With this recipe, you don't necessarily need to rinse it. We've pre-cooked our lentils. These are French green lentils. You definitely want to rinse those 3 times before you use them. We will give you that in the kit as well. So those are cooked separately, really because, you know, again, they have their own flavor. You want to cook them where they have a great flavor on their own, and you season, you know, maybe put a bay leaf in your lentils, and you just slowly cook those until they're perfect texture. And then we cook our rice separately, and we make sure that has the right texture, and then we blend it all together into our finished rice mixture, which is the sofrito and the lentils and the rice. And we actually use a little annatto oil. Annatto oil is from the achoti tree. It's often used in as a coloring agent. We use it in an oil, and it adds a great, maybe mild pepper flavor to it, and it just adds a really nice color.
Is it as thick as as a traditional olive oil, or is it more? Give us a little whirl.
It's just an oil. This is a sunflower oil that we steep the annatto seed in, and it turns it color. Nice. They use that in
beautiful
cheese.
Color,
Isn't it nice? Yeah. Like a cheddar cheese is often colored with annatto.
Okay.
And that's what gives it that color. Nice. So we'll take this over to our burner here. Do it on the right side here so you can see. And really, we're just adding our rice.
Now, basmati rice is longer, right, than a typical?
It is, and it's used more in Indian cooking.
Okay.
But it's a great rice, great texture. If you rinse it, the strands of rice get longer, and so we just sort of stir that mixture around. We'll add our salt. And again, you're cooking this rice to have good flavor. So when you add your salt, you want to add enough salt so that it flavors the liquid. You could use chicken stock. You could use a different liquid if you wanted, and it's just going to flavor that rice. But you want to make sure that has good flavor. Otherwise, you'll cook your rice and you'll taste it and you'll say it has no flavor. We're lucky we're adding our sofrito and we're adding other things, but you want the base ingredients to have great flavor on their own. So now we were just going to bring that to a simmer. And we'll just stir that a second. And really, when that comes to a simmer, we're going to cover that. We'll see how long that takes here. And I don't know if you know, it's we're really interested in spices. We do have a spice company. It's called Fire Spice Company. And this dinner we're actually serving as a dessert a Latin chocolate brownie.
Sure.
We have a spice box where you can actually make that dish at home. Today we'll just sort of show you how to finish that. But we also have a Middle Eastern restaurant in Cleveland Heights. It's called Zug, and it's everything there is done similar to how Chimmy's menu is. We really take Middle Eastern dishes and we do our spin on those dishes. So when that comes up to a simmer, we're going to add our sofrito, and because we have our sofrito finished, when that comes to a simmer, we're just going to stir that in, and then we'll finish the rice.
Okay.
And we're at our simmer, and I'm going to take that sofrito now and add that to our rice. And just to get as much out of that container as possible, I'm just going to use a little bit of the liquid. And then I'm just going to give that a stir. And you can see how that really changes that liquid. It really makes it a stock that will just give it really great flavor when it's finished.
And we don't have the lentils in.
No, so the lentils are cooked separately.
Okay. So that's going to be more of a finish.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And the same way that you're cooking this rice to have great flavor, the lentils you can cook with good salt. You could use chicken stock. You could saute some onion in there if you like, just as we did for the sofrito, and add your own flavor to the lentil, to give it nice flavor on its own, because then when it's mixed together, it'll just intensify that flavor.
Yeah.
So now I'm just going.
It's all smelling so good. You can smell the flavors.
I'm so glad. And now it's about at a simmer. I'm going to turn it down, and I'm just going to let it. I'm just going to cover it here. I'll use this top here, and you can see how the sofrito here is breaking down.
Oh yeah.
And that'll take another probably. It's
really good. Yeah.
Isn't that nice? Cool.
I'm ready to dip a tortilla into that.
Right?
It looks like a delicious salsa.
All right, so now we have our rice cooking. Next, we are going to start our chicken. Okay. And again, if you have a kit for this, the chicken is already marinated and ready to saute. So if you have gloves, I always prefer those. I think it it's but as long as you wash your hands well, it's great too.
Right.
But I do like to use gloves when I'm working with chicken. And again, we've already had you marinate the Peruvian chicken for this dish, but I wanted to go through the ingredients with you so that you see what we put into that marinade. So we have a little bit of lime juice, a little bit of lime zest, a little bit of Dijon mustard, some Worcestershire sauce, sambal oelek. It's an Asian chili sort of paste, a little bit of salt, paprika, cumin, honey, garlic, and soy sauce. And so we mix all of those ingredients together to marinate the chicken. So I could show you that just because I have them all right here. And so that's our sambal, our soy, Worcestershire, can you see okay?
Yep.
Salt, paprika, our mustard. Actually, I'm going to use my brush for that mustard. Cumin, lime zest, lime juice, garlic, and I'll use a little spoon to get the honey out. And if you're measuring out your honey, or if you're putting that in a dish, if you just take a little water and just rinse your dish you're putting the honey in first, the honey will come out really much more easily when you're trying to work with honey.
Now, I wouldn't have expected honey in this. What does that do in terms of the flavor of the chicken?
So really it's going to help sort of with the sear, with the flavor. It's going to help with sort of the color of the chicken when it's finished. So sugar will just intensify that browning.
Okay.
Sort of in a barbecue sauce, you would put that as well. You could use agave. That would work as well.
Yeah.
Something. But and then I'm just going to stir this mixture together. And again, because it's not hot, you won't get the flavor, but when it sits in this marinade overnight, it just adds a really great flavor to this chicken. And now I will take my chicken thighs. The chicken thighs have been cleaned. We just are creating little nice portions of chicken, so it's about it could be a quarter of a thigh, depending on how big, half to a quarter of a thigh, and we're just drenching those into our marinade. And this amount of marinade serves about 4 people.
Okay, great.
And then we'll just take that and we'll coat it. And if you were to make this for yourself, you can just leave it in the bowl and put plastic wrap on top. And then
yeah, right in the refrigerator.
Just leave it right into the refrigerator, yes. And that I'm going to put aside here. And these are our finishing oils. We're going to saute the chicken in sunflower oil. We have a little bit of parsley and then a little bit of oil to finish. So I'm just going to take that. I also want to, once the chicken is done marinating, there's a lot of liquid, so I want to dry the chicken well before I saute it. Otherwise, you're going to have so much splatter. The liquid from this chicken will splatter your oil. So it's important to just drain that. Great. So here we are with the chicken that's been marinated, and we're just going to put that out onto our towel. And there is a top side to that chicken. You can see it's got a little bit more maybe whitish side to it. I'm going to put that down first. It's also sort of the flatter side of the chicken.
Now, why are you using a chicken thigh instead of a chicken breast?
So chicken thighs just, they are so much more juiciness to it, more moist. They will take a marinade much better. A chicken breast can get real tough and sort of dry out with a marinade, especially with citrus in that marinade. The texture of this chicken, just when it's grilled, your chance of drying it out is a bigger problem with chicken breast. Yeah. But it's also so much more flavorful. There's more fat in the chicken thigh. Okay. And it'll just stay much more moist. And it's more traditional.
Yeah, more of a foolproof.
Yes.
Foolproof chicken.
Yes. Yes. And if you don't like thighs, I mean, for sure, you can use chicken breast and do the same. I would just cut down your marinating time, for sure, and your cooking time. So next we will get our pan hot again, and just like we did for the sofrito, you want to make sure that your pan is really hot. So we just have to be patient with that a second, and we'll just let that heat up nicely.
And then just for the viewers at home, you can't see this quite, but food safety, of course, he's had this chicken on ice to keep it nice and cool.
Yes. And yeah, really important, and again with the gloves and, just washing your hands is important too. And we're still working with raw chicken here, so it's important to, watch the tongs that we're using and all of that. So for now, and then I actually have this finish pan where I'll put that there, and we will finish the chicken in the oven. Okay. So starting out, I think our pan's nice and hot. You can feel it. Going to add our oil to the pan. And again, we're just looking for that to shimmer. It'll be nice and liquid, and you'll see it just start to shimmer there. And at home, your burners will be a little more even than this one.
And you said this is sunflower oil?
This is, yes.
Okay.
And it's a good cooking oil. It's as opposed to canola, this is a healthier oil. And then from here, I want to take my chicken, and you never want to put your, you don't want to splatter your chicken towards you. You always want to put it away from you. So when you're dropping it in your pan, you just want to drop it in away from you. and I move my oil around so that when I'm dropping the chicken into the pan, the chicken's sitting in the oil. Just gonna let that brown. Cook them so that there's a nice golden brown color to them. So probably about 4 or 5 minutes.
And throughout this whole time, we've kept the rice covered.
Yes.
So, make sure that you're at a low enough temperature where you're not, creating
Burning.
that rice crust at the bottom like I do at home.
So in about a minute or so, I just want to cook this chicken until it's, done enough on the bottom where it won't stick. I don't want to sear the other side because I don't want it to be too tough. So from here, I'm just going to remove it to an oven-proof, pan. So you could use a little sheet tray like this. I'm just using this little pan.
Now, do you recommend taking it out of the oil? Sometimes I throw in my skillet right into the oven if the skillet is, oven-proof.
I think that it's totally fine. If it's a little too hot, it can overcook the chicken,
Okay,
but I think
okay.
it's totally fine to leave it in that. I worry that at home most people don't have the pan that that they
Sure.
can. But if you do, I would say definitely you can leave that in the pan too. We'll give that another second. And then we'll have that ready to go in our oven. I'm just going to set that to the side until we're ready because we still have to make our green sauce and our salad. So I don't want to do that quite yet, but it's ready to go in the oven and finish. It'll take about, 5 to 7 minutes to finish cooking because they're such small pieces.
And then that is obviously with the chicken thighs that have been cut. So, if you're not taking the chicken thigh off the bone, adjust your cooking time at home.
Yes, and it could take 45 minutes.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that you're at a 165 internal temperature for your chicken thigh. And then I'm going to wash my hands well. And then we're going to make our green sauce, which is the ají verde. And a lot of times an ají, a verde is not so creamy. We're making it more of a mayonnaise-based sauce. It just eats really well with that chicken. And the ingredients we have for that, we're putting our garnish for our chicken aside. We'll finish the chicken with that when we go to plate. So what we have here is we have for our green sauce a little bit of mayonnaise, and you can make your own mayonnaise. It would work really well. It's just eggs and some shallots and some vinegar, a little bit of lemon juice, salt. You could use a little cayenne pepper. You blend that, your egg yolk as well, and then you slowly stream in cold oil, and you can make your own mayonnaise, and it would be great. We also have cilantro that's just been picked from the stem. The stem just gets tough, and you just want to make sure that it's nice and tender. Scallions, jalapeno, garlic, lime juice, a little bit of honey, and a little bit of salt. And again, the honey, you could use agave if you prefer that. And I just wanted to show you as well how to clean a pepper. And I would say you could use gloves for cleaning peppers as well. I love chilies, and if I get them in my mouth, it'll be okay. This is a jalapeno, so I'm just going to take the stem off. And know that when you're using chilies, if you don't like the spice, don't use the seeds in the pit. If you don't mind those, that's where you're going to get the spice from. So all of the seeds and the pith are where you're going to get that spice. I like to keep it in, and it just adds a really nice flavor. What I'd say is important with this dressing is making sure that all the ingredients are cut small enough so that when you blend, you don't have to blend too long because you're incorporating mayonnaise in, which is an emulsified dressing, you don't want it to break. So I just want to cut these up in small pieces, just like that. If you wanted to take the pith and the seeds out, you would just quarter the pepper as I did, and you would just run your knife along the inside and take those out, and then you'd have a much more mild ahi verde sauce. And I'm just going to, you don't need to do this as either, but when you're using a high-speed blender, sometimes things get caught in the bottom or the motor attachment. So if you can do a little rough chop, that is nice for that as well. And our scallions are cut just in little nice little pieces. One thing I'm going to do, it's a little trick here that I use, is I'm going to get a couple ice cubes real quickly. And I put those in the bottom of my Vitamix. And if you don't have a Vitamix and you have a high-speed blender, that works too. But I'm going to put a couple ice cubes because it's going to keep the mixture cold as I'm blending it, because a Vitamix can actually heat your ingredients up so much that it starts to break. So I'm going to add a few ice cubes, and then I'm going to add my ingredients into the pan, or into the bowl of it. So just like 3 ice cubes. Okay. And
now, if you don't have a blender at home, or if you don't have a great processor that's going to do the power of a Vitamix,
yes,
food processor work?
It would work well, but you won't get it's a wider base, so you won't get quite as big of a blend. It'll have more maybe pieces in it, but it's fine. Okay. You have to be careful. You know, one of those hand blenders might be better in a small cup, and then incorporate your mayonnaise at the end. Gotcha. Sometimes the bigger the food processor, it takes too long to blend, and you may break your mayonnaise. So I would maybe not incorporate your mayonnaise into it unless a bar blender would work just as well too. Okay. But a hand blender works nicely. Now we're just adding our mayonnaise. Our jalapenos. This will be a spicy one. Garlic. Adds a nice pungency to the finish. With that mayonnaise, it can take that raw garlic. Our acid and our honey. Our salt. And then I'm just going to scrape that. And then I'm just going to put this onto our blender base. Can you see that? You want me to move it?
Nope, you're fine.
You're good?
You're fine.
With this one, make sure you're always on low when you start it up. And then it's going to crush that ice a little bit. So about 30 seconds or so. And then you have a really nice green sauce here that we will put onto our chicken. And this refrigerates well, and it'll hold for 2-3 days. Right. Just gonna give that a quick taste too. Make sure. And what I'm going to do is, before I make this salad, I'm going to put our chicken into the oven, because we're at about the 10-minute time. And I just want to make sure that's ready. Checking our rice. Our rice is very close.
Now, Chef, what's our oven temperature at for the chicken?
375.
Okay.
So the next thing we're going to do is make our cucumber and scallion salad. So really, we're just making a simple salad with scallions, little salt, little lime juice, little olive oil, and a little Dijon mustard. The Dijon mustard really helps to incorporate that dressing, and just make it more
similar
sort
to
of
the mayo
emulsified.
that
Yes.
Yep.
Gives it, but this will be thinner than that.
Yeah.
But yeah. So this is an English cucumber, and we're just going to cut both ends off of the cucumber. If you have compost, definitely feel free to, actually before I cut that, I'm going to, just for fun, you know, and in the salad, I like to have a little bit of the green left on the outside. And it's just more, it just gives it a little, you know, color to the plate. Mm-hmm. But if you don't want the skin, definitely you could take it all off. But I just like to leave it so that there's a little bit on there. And then I'm just cutting that down the center. And these are really seedless cucumbers. You don't really need to seed them. I'm just going to take a little bit of that center out because that's where the moisture is, and I don't want the salad to get too moist when it's sitting on the plate.
That's a good tip for any salad, really.
Yeah.
When my salad gets watery with cucumber in it,
yes.
I'll remember that for next time.
Yes. Yep, you can just take that out. And I'm just, so you can see that.
Yep.
Just taking that out. Just like that. All right. And then just so that they're manageable, you know, pieces, you can just do them like that. And I like to cut on a slight bias.
You can see with the angle you're cutting at, leaving some skin on really does add some vibrancy to the color.
Yes. Yeah, nice pattern. And it won't be tough when you eat it, but adds just a nice, interesting look to it. Right. And we'll take those and we'll put those into this bowl with our scallions. And the scallions, I use the green and I use the white. And then in this bowl, I'm just going to take my lime juice, my salt. You can see it's quite a bit of salt. You really want to flavor this dressing because there's so much water in the cucumber even though we took the seeds out.
And that's really the only spice you're using, obviously, besides what's in the mustard already. Right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Let's see, I'm just going to use my finger for that. All right.
Nice and incorporated in that bowl for you.
Yes. And then I'm just really just whisking that. And this bowl is probably a little big. I probably could use a much smaller bowl such as that, but you can see how it just gets nice and creamy from that mustard.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going to pour that into our salad. Just like that.
Yep.
And then this, I'm just going to toss those cucumbers in that dressing, and I just want to let that sit out and sort of macerate for a few minutes until we're ready to plate.
Okay.
So at this point, I'm going to check the rice, and it looks like all of our liquid is cooked out, and it's steaming. It's nice and hot there.
Okay.
But I'm going to add my lentils to that pot just to bring them to temperature. And I'm just going to cover that for about 1 more minute.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that it's all hot when we go to serve it. So everything's cooked, but we'll just do that. And then I'm just going to finish it with the annatto oil.
Okay. And at this point, chicken's probably ready to come out of the oven, yes?
Yep.
For those at home?
Yeah, so I think I probably need 1 more minute. I'll do the quick toss on the rice, and then I'll go get the chicken. But yeah, I would say that was about 10 minutes. And now I'll add the annatto. And then I'll just put that off to the side here. Just like that. And I'll go get my chicken. So you can see the chicken is nice and bubbly, nice and sizzly here. We're just going to, on our platter, just add a little bit of our finish oil, just to give it a nice sheen. And we'll just sprinkle with a little bit of parsley. Just like that. And then we're ready to plate. And I'm just using this white plate here. And I'll start with our green sauce, which has just a really nice texture to it. And I'm just going to run that on my plate just for look, and it actually will allow the chicken to sit on something. And then each piece really gets that flavor. And remember, this is serving 4 people. So if you want to plate individually, you certainly can do that as well. And I personally like to take a little bit of that oil and I like to add it to my rice. It just adds a really nice flavor. Great, so next, after I add that fat to our rice, I do like to just spoon the rice onto our plate. Just like that. Right, and then we'll just finish it with our cucumber salad, which I just build up in between the chicken. Just like that, and maybe a little bit more parsley on the plate. And that is our Peruvian chicken with our ají verde sauce, our cucumber scallion salad, and our basmati and lentil rice. This is our spice box that I was telling you about, and this is our Latin brownie box. And on the back it tells you all the ingredients you need to make this recipe. And then inside the box is a spice packet and the recipe card that allows you to make the recipe. And so what we have here is the brownie that you would make. It has a little bit of Latin spice to it. It has a little bit of cayenne, some different chilies, and we take cocoa and powdered sugar evenly, and we just sprinkle that onto our brownie, and the cocoa adds just another nice element to the flavor of that brownie. And then that can be your dessert.
Well, thank you, Chef Katz. For those tuning in at home, this is our very last Circle Food Tour, so we hope you've enjoyed them. You can always go back and check out previous episodes and download all of the recipes from all 6 chefs that have presented throughout this series. You can do that at universitycircle.org/circleconnects. You can also go back and look at all of the other summer food, fun, fitness that's taken place. The art kits will still be available until the end of this month in September. You can pick up an art kit and participate in the Wadeoval art installation. The Voices on View exhibit will be out for the remainder of the month, and you can participate in that and bring out your family and chalk all around the oval, so be sure to check that out. while we still have some decent weather before winter comes along. And that's it. Any final words, Chef?
Just thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy Chimmy and Zug, and join us, say hello, tell us that you were part of this program, and we'd love to wave hello.